Fear Not, Episode 104. Hi, I'm Billy Atwell, and I believe that consistently facing your fears is the only way to realize your truest self and to make those confident choices that will help you to obtain your deepest held hopes and dreams. I have faith that this podcast series will show you that you are not alone, that it will strengthen you and give you courage to face your fears, and that it will help you to permanently cross over into a life of living beyond your fears. Join me on this journey as we listen and learn from others as they share their experiences in facing and overcoming their own fears. Hello, everybody. Today you and I are going to be joined by sdow. Welcome, Sandy. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm happy to be here today with you, Billy.
Yeah, the pleasure's really mine. I've been looking forward to it. Sandy is a performance coach, stress management specialist, and author of the best-selling book, Thriving in Chaos: 2-Minute Tools for Succeeding in Stressful Times. Sally helps entrepreneurs, creatives, and thought leaders transform their fears into first-rate performances with her powerful coaching method called the Tao Effect, where she blends ancient spiritual practices with science-based, body-focused strategies, allowing her clients to revolutionize their ability to manage stress and anxiety. Sandy has been coaching and mentoring hundreds of clients locally and internationally for over 12 years. Sandy, can you take a few extra moments to fill in the gaps and maybe give us a brief glimpse of your personal life as well?
Oh, sure I can. I have to say I feel so blessed in my life right now. I've been married for over 30 years. I have three amazing kids and a couple of gorgeous grandbabies, and I feel like I'm living my passion every day in my work. I just so enjoy what I do, but it certainly wasn't always like this. I grew up as a very withdrawn, shy, anxious child. I was very overwhelmed in social situations and had a really rough time. And I had a lot of health challenges as well, which made the go even harder. But what I did have was a strong spirit. So as I grew up, I found myself, desiring to be out in the world more, or be on the stage in a dance class or doing different things, and I would really push myself out of the comfort zone to do that. But it was really hard for me. I would often break down and then get sick after, and so I had this kind of back and forth in my life where I had the things that I longed for and that I would push myself towards, and then it could be a really rough go and hard journey for me. And that ended up leading to a breakdown in my 40s, real physical, spiritual, and emotional breakdown where I ended up quitting my job of 25 years and basically had to let my reality as I knew it go completely and just put my focus and my energy on myself, on getting well physically and emotionally. And that's a hard one, especially for moms. I think as mothers, we're caregivers and we fall into that role, it's really easy to lose ourselves in that. So, but what was really lucky for me is through that time after, I worked really hard at my healing process and was able to find a real deep spiritual connection through shamanic studies and practice that was tremendously helpful for me to help manage my fear and to just give me, that's something that gets you through the dark night. And as well, I then fell into training for somatic experiencing, which was a nervous system based modality, and trauma therapy, which was just revolutionized my life completely. It just gave me a lot of self-compassion and understanding about my own nervous system and how that comes to play in all of that. And then on the other side of that, here I am today, so feeling pretty blessed.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had quite an amazing journey, and I'm all the more excited now to have you on the show today. I've got questions for you. So,
Okay.
can we start off by having you help us understand what fear is, please?
Well, I'll speak to fear from more of a physiology perspective that I learned. I used to think of fear as just, oh my gosh, I would feel really, really uncomfortable, and then right away think, oh, there's something wrong with me, and I'm not good enough, and I would really get up into my head and have a lot of negative doubts, self doubts, and just kind of get spinning around in circles that way, and would find myself sort of frozen or paralyzed and unable to move forward. And then what I learned is that is just about the threat responses that we have in our body. Is that when something in the environment triggers us, or when we have a response to something in our environment, and our nervous system decides that it's not safe, what it will do is it will have a react or have a response, which is unique to us and what we've been through in our lives. And it can look literally like a freeze response would be, we just feel like we can't move or take a step. Or maybe a flight response would mean like, wow, I just need to get out of here. Or we might even feel like we're sort of collapsing inwards and we can't even speak. And so it was really interesting for me to then start to become more aware, bring self awareness to what was happening to me when I was feeling fear. So then I could go, wow, I would literally go, learned to go to sensation, like my chest is tight and I have a knot in my stomach and I feel paralyzed. And that's a really different place to go to. I feel a more compassionate place in my mind to just be with sensations and be with what's happening right in this moment. And it would take me out of those negative thoughts that could escalate those uncomfortable feelings.
Sandy, I know that you really sort of specialize in helping people with stress, and stress is so integrated into fear. I was hoping that you could also help us understand what stress is, but maybe help us how to deal with it.
So yeah, I'd be happy to talk a little bit about stress. And I think one of the big things with stress that we kind of have to watch out for is a lot of times we can be really highly stressed or activated and we don't even realize it because we just get used to being that way. And we can actually function really well under high levels of stress, and because our nervous systems can adapt. So we can find ourselves, functioning and performing really well at work or in the things that we have to do, but still be running in a really high sympathetic state, which is a really high stress state inside. And it's obviously not the healthiest place to be because it sort of creates havoc on our organs, our survival organs, and we end up pumping high cortisol levels, and that's where adrenal fatigue comes from. And it can be really sneaky. It can sneak up on us, and all of a sudden we realize that we're feeling burned out or we're feeling exhausted, and we might not even necessarily attribute it to stress, but it's definitely going on in our physiology, and I think it's just something we just need to pay more attention to in terms of, what really is going on inside. And so here's an exercise that we can all try together and I'm pretty sure everyone will feel a little response to this and in their stress level and just an overall feeling of relaxation. And just wherever you are right now, I just encourage you to look around the room. So it's an exercise of dropping out of the mind and following your gaze. So you're just going to follow your eyes. You're going to take in your surroundings, and then I want you to stretch your eyes up. Not necessarily lifting your head up, but just stretch your eyes up for 2 breaths. And then just drop your eyes back down again. And what this does is it turns off the vigilance in your nervous system. So your reptilian brain is wired to always be checking for danger. And so we can have that vigilance switched on high without even realizing it. And wherever you are at any time in your day, you can simply stop what you're doing and look around, and your brain will literally send a signal to your nervous system that tells you that you're safe. And so in doing that, you might have noticed a little bit of a change in your breath or a little bit of relaxation in the shoulders. And so I call it like two questions. It's kind of like the where am I? So what we just did, where am I? With a really important stretching of the eyes up, which is a different brain release. And then another question is what's happening inside? So just going back to the body, like where is your body? How do you experience your body right now? And so taking another moment to just go, oh yes, there's my body. Is your attention drawn to anywhere where you feel tight? Can you feel where you're connected to support, to the chair, to the floor? And again, just noticing what changes after just checking in with your body. And then just in that, just in maybe the 30 seconds that took, or if you have time, maybe doing that for a minute, you can actually make quite a difference in your physiology. And certainly the more you practice this, the more your physiology will respond to this and go, oh yeah, it's just like a nice little break. And I feel like we're either filling our helium balloon with more and more stress and overload, or we're able to take little breaks like this where we can give a bit of a release and let some of that helium out of our balloon in our day. And overall, even though this is so simple, it'll make an impact.
Will it help us to, because sometimes, really stressful times can come upon you like out of nowhere. I'm assuming that this technique could sort of help us to reduce those moments where we are living in super high stress.
I would say for high stress situations, we could add to that. So I find there's another thing that we can do where you just take your hand, make a fist, and gently thump or rub on the top of your sternum. So the thymus gland is in that area. So if we just rub or thump on top of the sternum, it's kind of like that Tarzan thump that we see. So many of these things intuitively we do them ourselves, and they actually do make quite an impact on our physiology. And so just by stimulating and rubbing the thymus gland, we can help ourselves when we're feeling rattled or really like we need to bring ourselves back. So that's one that I might use in a situation where I feel like really the stress is really building and the panic and anxiety. And the other one that we could do in that moment is you can just add pressing your thumb to the middle joint of your fingers. It's interesting, but we have many, many acupressure points on our fingers. And just by making firm contact with the different fingers. And so what we could do is be looking up, stretching the eyes up, pressing in our fingers on one hand, and then tapping on the sternum with our other hand. And so what I like about these is there's something you can actually do in the moment instead of trying to talk yourself down out of stress or try and engage with the mind. I think sometimes that's really dangerous territory because when our sympathetic nervous system is really pumping, when we're really in high stress, our mind is really going to be engaged usually in a lot of fear-based thoughts, and trying to work with those thoughts aren't always the easiest thing. So working with the physiology, working with something you can actually do in the moment is, I find, more effective. And another one to add on to that is just rather than changing your breath or trying to take a deep breath, just notice your breath. Just notice that you're breathing. And you might notice that your breath is shallow or strained, but oftentimes just by noticing breath, it will allow a change in breath into a more regulated breath pattern. So rather than overriding the breathing that we're doing, we're just noticing it and we're allowing a normal breath to come. So I'm guessing and that's what I like to do, is combine a few of these together in a high stress or panic moment, that this is going to give you just that little bit of helium out of your balloon that will help you get yourself, so that you can gather yourself again in the moment.
It seems like, too, that it would also sort of redirect your mind from the actual situation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've dropped down out of it and we're actually doing something. So in that moment, we've disengaged with those thoughts. So yeah, that's a really good point. It's definitely doing that as well.
What else could we do, maybe on the preventive side, that would help us be more prepared?
Yeah, I really like to think of this as definitely a preventative maintenance program. Um, what I've written about in my book is I've just brought together a whole bunch of different tools and ideas and things that we can use, and sort of finding things that work for yourself, like for you, and having a program, maybe just even a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes at night, where you sort of pull together a few things that help you. There's another one of mine that I really like, and it's just simply resting your forehead in your hand. So you'd prop your elbow down on the desk or a pillow and rest your forehead in your hand. And there's a couple of acupressure points there. And it's a nice release hold. And you can just kind of let go and kind of let your eyes hang and your jaw hang and your neck release. And you can just feel your body letting go in that pose. And starting your day, say, when you first get up, and just doing a few techniques like this can give your nervous system just that little bit of starting out on a better foot instead of starting out in high stress or high gear, in terms of stress. Though that said, a lot of times in the morning when we first wake up, if we're running really high stress all the time, most people wake up in the morning feeling really exhausted and really low. So there are things that I do to try and wake up my energy and kind of get myself going in the morning and clear my foggy brain. And one of them that's kind of fun is I'll literally lie in bed and cross my arms and then rub my ears. So rubbing earlobes, rubbing right into the ears, sort of turning them inside out for a good couple of minutes. So our earlobes are full of acupressure points, and as we stimulate them, we really wake our body up. So I like doing that to before I get out of bed to get myself going. If I'll take maybe a couple of things that I might have on my plate that are stressful to me, I might hold my head with those thoughts and then just get myself started in my day so I'm not in such high stress. And then I'll have a few things that I do at the end of the day that also help me before I go to bed, so I'm not going into bed feeling engaged and with my adrenaline still pumping, which of course disrupts sleep. So I think it's really important for us to do that, put the oxygen mask on ourselves, right? We look after so many things and other people and our jobs, and we don't put nearly as much effort into ourselves, I think, sometimes. So finding out some things that do work for us and giving ourselves a few minutes a day to put them into place, I think can make a powerful difference.
Yeah, as I'm obviously doing more and more interviews, and I'm learning about the connection between the neurological system in our body. It's amazing, like how many like sort of body hacks that we have. That we have
Yeah.
so much control over this physical shell. It just never really dawned on me before, but it's kind of fascinating.
I love the way you describe that as body hacks. And I think that's a really good way to look at it. And I think too, a lot of times, well, wow, my computer's not working. I need to get my computer fixed, or I get maintenance on my car, and and we'll do all that kind of maintenance on everything else. And like, what about us, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think it's a really important exploration, especially in our worlds now that are so much more fast paced than they used to be and have so much more stimulus in it. It's just like, okay, what's my maintenance program? Or also looking at other people or providers or practitioners to help with that part as well.
Sandy, what would you recommend for any of us who would like to learn more about this? Where's a good place to start?
I think, the worlds of energy medicine and somatic therapies, those are really, I think they're kind of new realms for people to dive in that are pretty interesting, especially the world of somatic therapy and just anything to learn about the nervous system. Like, we all have a nervous system and we really don't know much about it. And sometimes we might, our digestion goes off, or there's something up with our heart, or we hurt our knee. So we'll, look into those things, and we don't spend really any time learning about our nervous system. And it rules everything. It's showing up every day, and all of our challenges, behind it is going to be a nervous system in stress and in responses and in threat. And certainly the adverse or challenging experiences that we've been through in our lives as children or growing up, or the car accidents, the anesthetics, all of those things have huge impacts on our nervous system. And they kind of stay sort of caught in our system as trauma is really something that just wants to finish or complete. So I would suggest, exploring and doing some reading and finding out more about the nervous system. Peter Levine has written some great books. He's the creator of somatic experiencing, but any book that just explains that physiology, I found learning about that just helped me have so much more compassion for myself, because I could understand what was actually happening in those moments of resistance or fear or even procrastination, those types of things. Seeing it from a nervous system in distress kind of philosophy really changed everything for me.
Sandy, if someone would like to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh, yeah. You could send an email through my website at sdow.com, where I have some more information there. Or you could also email me at sandy@sandydow.com. And I'm also on Facebook, and I have the Dow Effect page on Facebook, so I'm on social media. I'd be happy to hear from listeners and answer any more questions.
And what parting advice would you like to leave with us today?
I think for me, I would just love to see people be able to have more self-compassion. I think that was the biggest change in me coming through what I went through in all of those years. Really through all that, when I didn't understand and I couldn't figure out how I was, I just tended, I think, as most people do, to kind of beat myself up and just go, wow, what's wrong with me? And I think, finding compassion for ourselves, and I think for me too, it really comes with just becoming more curious. I call it cultivating compassionate curiosity, where we just start more often in our day, can stop, slow down, notice what's going on inside. Even, what emotions are you feeling? Where are we feeling tight or uncomfortable in the body? What does the body need in that moment? So I think if we can just slow down enough to become more curious about our body, then we can also become more compassionate as to what's really going on inside when we struggle.
Something to think about indeed. Thank you so much. And I want to let everyone know too quickly that Sandy has generously donated a copy of her book, Thriving in Chaos. So if you would like an opportunity to win, visit the giveaways page at livingbeyondyourfears.com to submit your free entry form today. Sandy, I really want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and being so generous with your time and your knowledge, and for helping us to understand a little bit more about stress and how to deal with it.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. You're doing great work on your podcast here. This is a really, really important topic.
Thank you for joining me today. And remember, you cannot achieve everything, but you do have the God-given ability to achieve anything. So stay focused, out of fear, and keep on keeping on. Until next time, be well and peaceful. For more information on today's episode and guest, or for resources that will assist you in overcoming your fears, visit livingbeyondyourfears.com. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, where 3 times a week we move to a life beyond our fears.